Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the House Local Government Committee to order. First order of business is a roll call. Christina?
Sure. Chairman Freeman,
Here.
Representatives Borowski,
Oh, by designation.
Serrato,
She's here, sorry.
Donahue,
Designation.
Fleming, Hambidge,
She is virtual but will be voted by designation.
Kazim,
Designation.
Madsen,
Designation.
Monroe,
Designation.
Probst, Prokopiak,
By designation.
Salisbury,
Designation.
Sappy, Smith Waddell.
By designation. And I want to note the presence of Representative Monroe. He's joined us.
Chairman James.
Present.
Representatives Banta, Fink, Fritz, Jones, Kuzma, Miller,
Here.
Rader, Rinkavage, Quattro, Wentling.
Next, we will move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd ask you all to rise, please, as Chairman James leads us in the pledge. Before we get on to our legislation to be taken up today, I wanted to introduce a few guests from back home. I have an intern in my district office, Tavleen Rahul, who is attending the University of Michigan. She lives in Easton. She is present. Tavleen, if you just rise. And with her are two of my legislative aides from back home, Ian Murphy and Dom Ruggiero, who are there. If you guys want to rise. They all make me look better than I deserve, so just if you were wondering. Okay, moving on to our order of business. We're going to take the bills in a slightly different sequence. First bill to be brought up will be Senate Bill 464, sponsored by Senator Regan, who is with us, and we'll call upon him shortly. Have a seat, please. Is there a motion to bring up the bill? Moved by Senator. Moved by Chairman James, and seconded by Senator Banta. Gotcha. Or Representative Banta, sorry. A Senate kick this morning. Before we call upon you for some comments, Joshua, did you want to give an overview of the legislation?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 464 amends Title 53, Municipalities Generally, to authorize a city, borough, town, township, or regional police department to amend its ordinance or resolution, which is to establish a police pension fund to provide full-time police officers who have satisfied vesting requirements the option to purchase up to 5 years of pension service credit for prior part-time or full-time police service provided in the police department. I do want to note that this applies to, as far as the definition of city, applies to all cities except for cities of the first class.
Yes. Thank you. Senator Regan, welcome. Good to have you here. Did you want to make some comments about your legislation?
Yes, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman. First of all, thanks
You're in order.
to you guys. I appreciate it. Chairman James, Chairman Freeman, good friends of mine from my past life as a member of the House, two of the most decent and kind members of the legislature that I've ever come across. So thank you so much for bringing this.
On behalf of Chairman James and I, thank you very much.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So anyway, great to be with you. Thank you for bringing this up. Thanks for considering this. This has been a long haul for this bill, and the genesis of it is we had local police departments guys who had been on the department for a period of time and wanted to advance to another department, but it didn't make sense to them because they couldn't take their pension benefit with them. So if they served 10 years at a police department and got an opportunity to go somewhere else, it was very difficult to do because they couldn't take their pension with them. So kind of the model of the military buyback program, which is Act 600, we wanted to put this forward, but we had it as a shall provision, and that was, as many things we do in the legislature, it was too expensive, and so we kind of, just waddled in our own way for a while until we worked closely with the FOP and made it a may provision. So there was always a question as to whether or not townships were allowed to do this. We're allowed to allow for a buyback program. So this allows it. Everyone seems to be happy with it. It's kind of a half a loaf, unfortunately, but it will be effective. And, if you think of it in terms of what we're doing for our police officers at a time where it's difficult to be a police officer, it's an added benefit. And I think it's something that we've heard from all around the state, especially the Allentown area, in the suburbs of Philadelphia and other places where it's very important to these people. So this will be a good thing, and I appreciate finally, it's been a long haul, but finally it's going to come to an end, hopefully very, very soon. And I thank both you, Chairman, for being willing to
Thank you.
take it up.
Thanks for being present here today to talk about your bill.
Thank you,
Is there
sir.
any discussion or questions from the members? Representative Monroe.
Thank you very much, Chair. I just want to, again, thank the maker of the bill, Senator Regan. So I actually have the House version of the bill. Doesn't matter what vehicle, obviously, that this is in. I know that you had written it first, and my number one goal is obviously to get this over the finish line. So it doesn't matter what vehicle you're in, it's about getting to the destination. Being obviously a Fraternal Order of Police member, and my understanding is next year, if my constituents return me to this House, I will be the only Fraternal Order of Police member on the floor. I can tell you that this is a huge deal. You know that, but for the rest of the members here, it is an absolute huge deal. I think this is the number one legislative priority for the FOP because, listen, when I first was hired as a police officer, I was one of hundreds of candidates. That's not the case anymore. They're desperate for people, and we're desperate to keep good police officers in the field. We don't want them leaving to other careers. So if we can add this benefit, which is something I think they should be allowed to do anyway, to keep them in the field and motivate them to stay in law enforcement, all the better, because they absolutely need it. And again, thank you very much.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or statements? If not, we could go to the roll call. Oh, actually, let's do a voice vote. I think this one is going to pass unanimously anyway. So all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously, and your bill will be reported to the House.
Thank you very much to everyone. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Senator.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Next, we're taking Representative Marshall's bill, House Bill 2288, as our second bill. Is there a motion to bring up the bill? So moved by Renkavich, seconded by Fritz. And we'll give just a slight overview, if you will, by Jeremy or Joshua.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2288, offered by Rep. Marshall, removes the annual maximum compensation limits from the second-class township code. The bill would allow township supervisors to receive as compensation an amount established by ordinance without regard to township population.
We do have an amendment to the bill, but before we get to that, Representative Marshall, did you want to say a few words?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chair Freeman and Chair James, members of the committee and staff. Thank you for considering House Bill 2288. The concept was brought to me by local supervisors. As drafted, it offers the ultimate in local control for the salaries of the supervisors. But I appreciate the amendment. I appreciate the consistency it brings with boroughs and townships. And I again, thank you for consideration of the bill.
Thank you. Thank you for being present here today. There is an amendment, as I mentioned, Amendment 05170. Is there a motion to bring up the amendment? So moved by Sappy, seconded by Fleming. The amendment is before us. I'll ask John to give us a brief overview of the amendment.
Okay, Amendment A 05170, Chairman Freeman's amendment. This amendment would remove the present contents of the bill and reinsert the annual maximum compensation thresholds and increase them. They would increase them that would mirror what we did with Borough Council salaries in House Bill 2265 at our last meeting. So it would be based on population. The smallest townships would have a maximum of 3,145, and that would be for a population less than 5,000, and it goes up to maximum of population of 35,000 or more of 8,385. And this would mirror what is being done for the borough council members. It would also add an alternate compensation manner on a per meeting basis based on attendance of supervisors, and as long as it does not exceed the total compensation thresholds established in the bill, or in this amendment, I mean, and would only be payable for duly advertised public meetings in which a supervisor participated, except if they were absent, and excused absence. And that would be determined by the Board of Supervisors. And it also provides that the Board of Supervisors may require documentation to support an excused absence.
Thank you, John. Chairman James, you had a question?
Quick question for the maker. Good morning.
Good morning.
Is it safe to say this is an agreed-upon amendment?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it's safe to say that.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or debate? Representative Probst?
I like the bill, and as a former mayor, we took half of what we could have taken for compensation because you would have been voted out if you took the whole amount. But one thing that we were never allowed to do is get on health benefits or anything like that. So if you are in a township, one of my townships like Stroud, they're actually on the health benefits that the township has, and they take their stipends and is the health insurance or any benefits like that considered in this, or does it matter? I guess my question is, you know, if you're kind of working only a couple hours a week and you're getting full-time benefits and then getting a raise, I just wanted to know if there's any standard for health benefits taken into consideration as compensation.
Not in the bills drafted.
Okay.
And I should note, too, that this is not a mandate of an increased salary. It has to be acted upon by the local governing body. Any other questions or comments? Representative Miller.
Thank you. We had this, a similar concept related to the amendment about withholding compensation if someone misses a meeting. The only thing I'll add here is I'm working on an amendment to the other bill we considered the other day, but in regard to this, it seems to me that a provision would need to be added to make this by resolution, that if there's going to be withholding of compensation, that there should be a resolution enacted prior to implementation of this. So those are my comments.
We'll look forward to seeing your amendment when you're ready. We do have an amendment to the borough bill that we passed out of committee, which would be in conformity with this amendment as well. Any other members wish to speak? Questions? None? With that, let's just take a voice vote if we can. All those in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. And now on the bill. All those in favor of the bill, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Bill passes the committee and is sent to the House. Congratulations.
Thank you, Chairman Freeman, Chairman James, members of the committee. Appreciate the flexibility in moving the bill in the agenda, and I thank you all for the affirmative vote.
Thank you for your presence here today. With that, we'll move on to our next bill, and I'd like to recognize Representative Chairman Schlossberg, if you'd like to come up. And I'll call upon John to give a brief overview before we hand it over to you to make your comments.
Okay, House Bill 782, Representative Schlossberg's bill would amend the municipalities planning code by adding a new article requiring municipalities to determine developments of regional significance and impact through impact analysis studies and feedback from neighboring municipalities and the county in which they are situated. Under the legislation, a person submitting an application for a land development would be required to submit an impact analysis under the following circumstances for specific types of proposed developments, such as an airport, intermodal terminal, a waste handling facility, et cetera, or with regard to, for example, the population, if it's a municipality of 10,000 or more, it would be based on certain traffic impacts, and likewise for municipalities of less than 10,000. Again, it would be based on certain traffic impacts that are specified in the legislation. The impact analysis shall analyze the effect of the proposed land development on the host municipality and other affected municipalities, and would need to include the financial impacts on expanding local emergency services, environmental impacts, the effect on housing opportunities, and effects on traffic and transportation-related infrastructure. A host municipality would be required to hold a public hearing to review the impact analysis and decide whether the proposed development shall be classified as a development of regional significance and impact. They must provide timely notice of the hearing to each contiguous municipality and each municipality identified as potentially impacted by the proposed development. And representatives from these municipalities would be allowed to provide public comment to the host municipality. In deciding whether a proposed development is of regional significance and impact, a host municipality shall take into consideration the direct impacts on other municipalities. The host municipality shall issue its decision in writing and must provide specific reasons supporting its decision. If the development is determined to be of regional significance and impact, the applicant would be required to submit to the host municipality a mitigation plan to address any potential harm or negative effects cited by the host municipality in its classification. The mitigation plan would need to be reviewed and given written comments by a professional, such as a traffic engineer, or an individual who is licensed by the Commonwealth or qualified to perform services or activities related to this article. The applicant would be able to request a coordinated and expedited review of any aspect of the proposed development by the Department of Transportation, DEP, and other state agencies whose approval is required. Within 45 days of submission of all necessary information, the applicable agency shall prepare a written report on the proposed development and send it to the applicant and the municipality. The host municipality would be required to hold a second hearing to review the proposed development and make a decision on the proposed development. The host municipality shall consider testimony from state agencies whose approval is required for the development, the county in which the municipality is situated, contiguous municipalities and potentially impacted municipalities and school districts, and concerned individuals such as municipal and regional planners, impacted individuals, and other persons as determined by the host municipality. Based on testimony and other information received with respect to the proposed development, the host municipality shall render a decision to either approve the proposed development, approve the proposed development with conditions attached, and these conditions must be reasonably fashioned to mitigate any impact or additional impact attributable to the proposed development, or disapprove of the proposed development. A host municipality would be authorized to provide financial incentives to an applicant to reduce the cost of an impact analysis, mitigation plan, or a coordinated and expedited review of a proposed development of regional significance and impact. Further, a host municipality would be required to develop a revenue sharing plan for contiguous municipalities that are adversely affected by an approved development because of additional expenses incurred for police and fire protection, medical services, road maintenance, and infrastructure. If a host municipality lacks capacity regarding the professional review of the proposed land development plans, the impact analysis or the mitigation plan, the county in which it is situated shall determine whether and the extent to which the county can assist the host municipality with the professional review. And finally, an appeal of a host municipality's decision must be filed with the Court of Common Pleas of the county in which the host municipality is located. Appeals would be limited to parties that appeared before the host municipality at the hearing at which the decision to approve the or disapprove of the development occurred. And the review of decision would be governed by Article 10A, appeals to court existing in the code presently. And parties would also be able to utilize mediation as an aid to a formal appeal, which would be governed by the provisions of Section 908(1) of the code.
John, thank you for that overview. I did neglect to ask for a motion to bring the bill up. Is there a motion? Probst and seconded by Sappi. And now we will turn to Chairman Schlossberg for any kind of comments he would wish to make on his legislation.
Well, I think it's safe to say from a legislative perspective this has been thoroughly explained, but I will briefly touch on my on my motivation for the legislation. I'm fortunate enough to represent a very rapidly growing community. The challenges that come with that growth are real. We have clogged roads, concerns about emergency access, flooding, and more. And one of the things that my municipalities have told me, and I suspect many of you have heard it as well, is that they need additional tools in order to determine when a development is going to cause these kind of issues and be given opportunities to mitigate these kinds of problems. I will also note that the very fragmented nature of Pennsylvania government makes it difficult sometimes for adjoining municipalities that are going to be impacted by a large development to actually appropriately address some of these changes. As was taught to me by a graduate school professor who happens to be in this room, one of the things that we need to do a better job of in Pennsylvania is making it easier for neighboring governments to be in communication with each other and to be able to, in some way, influence, not control, but influence each other's decision for the benefit of regional government. So this legislation was an attempt to do that, and I'm happy to answer any additional questions.
Thank you very much. We do have some questions, but should we go to the amendment first, or? Yeah, before we take up questions and comments, let's go to the amendment first, just to have that, unless the people who wish to speak have the desire to speak now. Okay, we'll wait till the amendment. Is there a motion to bring up? Is there a motion to bring up the amendment? Moved by Fleming, seconded by Serrata. Okay. If you'll give a brief overview of the amendment itself.
Amendment A 05126. This is Chairman Freeman's amendment. It's an omnibus amendment to the bill. It would move the text of the bill into a new Article 5B titled Developments of Regional Significance and Impact of the Municipalities Planning Code. And the amendment would provide the following changes. It would add definitions, including a new definition for warehouse facility. It would stipulate that it would remove language requiring that a comprehensive plan contain provisions consistent with the new article. It adds a preemption with regard to the Department of Transportation. It clarifies that where a land development under this proposal requires access to a state highway, nothing in the article shall supersede PennDOT's exclusive jurisdiction over the state highway system or modify the requirements set forth in the department's regulations relating to highway occupancy permits. With regard to the impact analysis, it stipulates that a person who has proposed a subdivision or land development for one of the listed types of development is required to inform the county or regional planning commission and the governing body of each contiguous municipality in writing that its proposed development may be one of regional significance and impact. A potentially impacted municipality may request that the host municipality or its designated planning agency require an impact analysis of the development. In addition to the host municipality, a county or regional planning agency would be authorized to require an impact analysis. And it stipulates that the impact analysis must include a list of contiguous and affected municipalities. It must also be distributed to the municipalities at least 10 days prior to the public hearing regarding the classification. And with regard to the mitigation plan, it stipulates that after the applicant has submitted a mitigation plan, the host municipality has 120 days to render a decision. The amendment also clarifies that a condition for approval may include off-site improvements to public facilities. And with regard to standards and criteria, the amendment specifies that the host municipality has the power to establish additional standards, and they must be exercised by ordinance, and require a public hearing be conducted, and requires that the planning agency and any joint or regional planning agency have an opportunity to review the ordinance. And the amendment also makes various technical and editorial changes to the bill to comply with the existing framework of the MPC.
Thank you, John. Are there any questions or comments regarding the amendment before we move on then to the bill? On the amendment? Okay. Well, why don't we wait until we get past the amendment, if that's okay. Oh, yeah. We also have Chris Ghazi here from the Local Government Commission who could answer questions if there are any that will be posed. But with that, let's take up the amendment first. Do you need a roll call or just a voice vote? Okay. We'll do a roll call vote of the amendment.
Chairman Freeman.
Yes.
Representatives Borowski.
Designation yes.
Serrato. Yes. Donahue. Yes. Fleming. Yes. Hambidge.
Designation yes.
Kazim.
Designation yes.
Madsen.
Designation, yes.
Monroe. Probst. Prokopiak.
Designation, yes.
Salisbury.
Designation, yes.
Sappy. Smith Waddell.
Okay.
Chairman James. Representatives Banta. Fink. Fritz. Jones. Kuzma. Miller. Rader. Rinkavage. Watro. Wentling. 1411.
Okay, the vote is 14-11. The amendment is inserted in the bill. I should note, too, that the amendment was drafted with the help of the Local Government Commission. That's why Chris is here as well to answer questions. Moving on to the bill in chief, there was questions being posed. Representative Rader, followed by Representative Probst.
Once again, I have some concern about local control. I think this adds another layer of government that we don't need. I don't know how many surrounding communities ever want any kind of development next to them, so that's an issue to start with. But I think the townships already do a lot of the things that are presented in the bill. You have to go through a planning commission. You have to go through the zoning board. You have to address environmental issues. You have to do traffic studies. You have to do kind of all the things that you're talking about in the bill that they're required already. And I believe you also have to go through the County Planning Commission where there are added tools there, and they're advisory also, but they can add things that they deem are necessary. PennDOT, highway occupancy. We have to do all these things that you're talking about already. I think what happens is the townships, if they meet the requirements, are required to adopt the proposed development, and that's where the rub is. So I think what we need maybe more tools for the townships to utilize, and we have something already existing, which is a regional planning board. I know my township's involved in one. So if you're part of a regional planning board, you don't have to okay every use, which you do currently if you don't belong to a regional planning board. So if you do belong to a regional planning board, you don't have to okay every use. You can split uses within that region, and that's exactly what we should be doing here. And I think that already exists. So there is a tool there, and I think we should be encouraging townships to use that. So we want to encourage regional planning, which this generally is, and we already have that tool. I think maybe we want to give more grants to the counties to encourage that, or more grants to the townships and steer them toward that use. So we already have that tool. I don't think we need to layer another added part of government to get there. Another thing, I have so many notes here, I think I lost them all. And I talk too long anyway, so you don't want me to say anymore. One of the things, though, I was thinking when we were talking about this, we're talking about added housing and things like that, and why we don't get it. And one of the reasons we don't get it is this very reason here. The added layers of government are too hard and too difficult to go through to accomplish some of the things we want. So we have tools existing already. I think we should use them. We have regional boards. We have counties, conservation district. We have to put the plans through there. So we already have all the things you're talking about. I think that the gist of the matter is that people don't like when things are approved, but that's required if these entities meet all the requirements. They almost have to say yes, but a regional board would help limit development in those things that we're all really concerned about, and that would be where we should go, not a bill like this, which adds a layer of government, which I think isn't necessary.
I thank you for your comments, and also your reference to Act 67 of 2000, which provided for the multi-municipal comprehensive plans. Those are good tools, and they can be a big help. But I think in something of a truly regional nature, as Representative Schlossberg has focused on, you need to sometimes make sure that all the parties are at the table being able to comment on the impacts, and more importantly, that our county planning agencies or joint municipal agencies have a chance to weigh in and even require the mitigation effort that is needed to accommodate development of a truly regional impact nature. Real quick.
Just one more comment. I think we already have that. When we have any plan in my township, we had to address the planning commission from the county, so they're already looking at it, so they already can comment, already can do the things they need to do. If we need to beef up the county planning commissions, maybe we should give them some extra dollars to beef them up so they have more of an ability to do it, and maybe have more of an ability to encourage the townships to adopt regional planning, because I think that's where the gist of this is, and then everybody gets a say in it because you're already involved in regional planning. And in my county, they have a say in what's happening. So it has to already go there. So they know if an airport's coming in, they're going to know about it. and also the region knows
I
about
would
it.
only note that that's advisory. They can only be advisory in terms of their impact.
I think this is still advisory too, isn't
Well,
it?
it is, the regional or county planning agency can now call for the actual study and mitigation necessary.
Well, I think, once again, I think the townships, if they're doing their job, which I think most of them do it, they would want help in how to get to the place they have to get to, either to agree on a development or not to agree on it. So I think I really do think it's there already.
I appreciate your comments. Representative Probst, followed by Representative Fritz, and Representative James after that.
So you can see that I'm a co-sponsor on this bill, and I have to be a sound box for a second. One of the biggest bureaucracies in this building is the Department of Transportation. And if you don't know anything about me, you know that PennDOT does what they want, when they want, to whoever they want, no matter what you say, no matter what. They don't care. And an example is a project that they're doing in my district that we didn't even have a seat at the table. NEPA Alliance, who doesn't even live in my district, makes decisions about how they're going to wreck our communities. They're going to close exits to an only downtown in Monroe County, to the county courthouse, to our Main Street. And they're doing it, and the design is so old that my son was 2, and now he's driving on Interstate 80, and they're still filing for permits. And I cannot stand that bureaucracy doesn't, Jack, listen to municipalities. They don't come, you can talk to them all day long, and they're gonna do whatever they want, whenever they want. $770 million for 3 miles. The biggest bureaucracy in this building is PennDOT. And if this protects our communities from that mob, then I am 100% behind this bill, because they don't care and they don't listen. So I will support this all day long to give my communities and my local governments a voice against the Department of Transportation, who doesn't follow these rules. So thank you. I'm mad because they ruin communities. And I'm partnering now with a senator on the Republican side, because he's going through the same thing I am, but with agriculture. And they need to be stopped, and this bill will help. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your comments. Representative Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do appreciate where the good gentleman from the 132nd is coming from. My wife is from that region, so I travel through there frequently. But I will assert that regulatorily wise, Pennsylvania is already a punitive environment to develop and do business in. And I will assert further that this simply adds to that dynamic. And for that reason, I will be a no. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank the gentleman. Representative Miller.
Thank you. I want to thank the maker of the bill. I think we all understand, each of us in our respective areas, that these developments of regional impact they have an impact, and we see that, and we want to try to find a way through to address that to the best that we can. So I applaud the maker of the bill, and I know the area that you're talking about. So I see why it's front and center for you. Having said that, there are concerns with the bill, and Representative Rader identified a number of them. I'm just going to list several of them that I have. What you already mentioned about that, we already have the tools here available to us. I know municipalities in Lancaster that I have, that we have taken advantage of these to address this. Local zoning ordinances of the municipalities, they can address their SALDO, their zoning ordinance to address these, their intermunicipal agreements, the county planning commissions, and so forth. The bill mandates things that can be done right now, voluntarily. So that's a concern I don't think is necessary. It adds extra layers of review, cost, and time. And the various municipalities, at least in my area, they're not shy. I mean, most of you are here, have been involved in municipal government. You're not generally shy people. You're not afraid of going to another municipality, picking up the phone, calling, going to a meeting or whatever to voice your concerns. At least that's the experience that I have in our area. One of the big concerns I have, is, to my knowledge, that enactment of this bill will be the first time in Pennsylvania history that will give a municipal planning some sort of planning commission authority over elected officials. And I have significant trouble. Planning commissions, whether on the county, regional, or municipal level, are advisory. But this would authorize them to mandate various provisions in the bill, and I find that troubling. Another problem with the bill is the tax sharing, the revenue sharing portion of the bill. I don't understand how that could possibly work, and I think that would yield, in many respects, that the host municipality would end up enduring larger costs. So I think that's a problem. And finally, one of the things that is not mentioned is the concept of the impact fee, which was enacted many moons ago to address traffic issues primarily. I think that needs to be rehauled. And if that were implemented in a different way, that could address some of the impacts in various municipalities outside the host municipality. That's something that needs to be done. I don't think that this bill does not address that in any regard. It tries to get to it, but I don't think it accomplishes it. And that impact fee needs to be revisited. So anyway, for all those reasons, I applaud the maker for the effort, but I don't think this is the way to go. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Just a point of clarification. The amendment and the bill in chief does not mandate to the municipality whether or not the project is approved, but they can require that there be the impact fee undertaken and the analysis made.
Right. And if I may, and that's the point that I don't know of any other time in Pennsylvania history where that can be done. And I think that that's the wrong way to go. If such a mandate were to occur, it should be by the elected officials, not an advisory committee.
Well, the municipality can do that as well if they choose.
Indeed, but a planning commission, in my estimation, should not be able to decide.
But again, the final say on the project's approval or disapproval will still be in the hands of the local municipality.
But the planning commission can mandate the
Study.
study.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a problem. Thank you.
Representative James and then Representative Sappi after that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Quick question with regard to the contiguous municipalities. Does that mean the contiguous municipalities can compliment or complain, but also do they get a vote on whether or not this is going into effect?
The answer to that is no.
That's what I thought, but I just wanted to confirm.
I'm happy to make that confirmation, sir.
All right. So a comment. Here's a shocker. Pennsylvania is very diverse. The problem that you have may be resolved by passing this legislation, but it will heap more problems all over the Commonwealth, in my view, which is why I will be a no. And I'll give you a little story. Let's say you're the running back of the football team and you're advancing the ball down the legislative field. And as you advance the ball, one department after another jumps on you until you're finally brought down. And then player number 782 comes up and jumps on the pile. That's piling on. And that's what this bill is to me. I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Sappi.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm from the Southeast. You guys have heard me talk about some of the challenges we have in the Southeast. My district is sort of the last frontier of rural suburban, and Southern Chester County has a lot of open space right now, a lot of active agriculture that is targeted for development, for commercial and residential development. And so our municipalities, while they have all of these tools available to them, are really feeling hamstrung when they are up against an airport, a stadium, a 5,000 unit townhome community with Toll Brothers. These are folks who can wait us out. They can wait out these municipalities and this process for decades, and they frequently do. So I think anything that we can do that would enable folks to come together to tackle some of these problems, and I can think of a couple of different examples in our district, in our county. One was a state hospital, a former state hospital. I think some of us have those in our communities, and how do we tackle that? because that's, cheap for developers to get in there, but for municipalities to deal with, it hasn't been. Another one was a historic battlefield, Revolutionary War, the Battle of the Brandywine from 1775. That fight went on for the last decade, and incorporated several different municipalities. So these are challenges, and they're expensive challenges for municipalities to take on, and they really do impact other projects in a municipality when they go on this long. So anything that we can do, and if this, ends up changing before we actually get to it, I'm willing to have that conversation. But I think we really do need something to help our municipalities that are undergoing this tremendous amount of growth.
I thank you for your comments. If there's no other discussion, we'll move then to a roll call vote.
Chairman Freeman.
Yes.
Representatives Borowski,
Borowski is by designation yes.
Serrato,
Yes.
Donahue, Fleming,
Designation yes.
Hambidge,
Designation yes.
Kazim,
Designation yes.
Madsen,
Designation yes.
Monroe, Probst, Prokopiak,
Designation yes.
Salisbury,
Designation yes.
Sappy, Smith Waddell. Chairman James. Do we go with that?
You guys okay with that, or do you want a roll call? Okay.
1411.
And we'll list all the Republicans as no. Okay. Representative, congratulations.
Thank you all for your comments.
Your bill will be sent to the House floor. Next, we are going to take up Representative Benham's bill, House Bill 2373. If Representative Benham would wish to come to the microphone. Is there a motion to bring up Representative Benham's bill? Serrato, and seconded by Donahue. Welcome. Did you want to give a brief overview of your bill?
Sure. Thank you, Chair Freeman and Chair James and all the members of the local government committee for considering this legislation today. In speaking with firefighters in my district, I learned that the surviving spouses of Pittsburgh firefighters lose their eligibility to receive pension payments upon remarriage. This is because state law specifies that that happens for firefighters in second-class cities. But this restriction does not apply to pensions for other first responders or for firefighters in literally any other class of municipality. In 2006, the provision ending pension benefits for surviving spouses of Pittsburgh police officers upon remarriage was repealed. But the law concerning Pittsburgh firefighter pensions was not amended, has not been successfully amended since 1975. So my legislation simply removes the remarriage penalty for the surviving spouses of Pittsburgh firefighters. It's a way to continue to reward and honor the sacrifices of our first responders. I appreciate your time and consideration today.
Thank you for your overview. Appreciate it. Is there any discussion or questions of Representative Benham? Seeing none, let's do a voice vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any negative votes? Motion carries unanimously, and your bill will be sent to the floor of the House.
Thank you all.
Next on our agenda is House Bill 1850 by Representative Smith Waddell. Is there a motion to bring the bill up? Serrato, second. Donahue. And Representative Waddell, did you wish to make a statement or an overview of the legislation?
The bill is extremely straightforward. It's exactly what's on the tin. It provides provisions for notification when second-class townships choose to move to a certified public accountant or other competent auditor to conduct their audits, and provides for the timeline on which they should advertise that initial switch, and if they should choose to return to having an elected board or auditor provide that service, the timeline for advertising that switch back. And this is one that comes out of the local government commission. That's what I've got.
Thank you for that overview. You're hired.
Please no.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? Yes, this is a local government commission bill, as was mentioned by the prime sponsor. Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No negative votes. The bill will be reported unanimously to the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. It's not often in this building we get to do something to make things easier for municipalities, so I appreciate your support.
Thank you. There are two bills that are also commission bills that are next on our agenda. House Bill 2160, Representative Sappi is the prime sponsor, and House Bill 2165, Chairman James is also the prime sponsor of that one. If there would be no objection, could we take them both together since they're really identical bills? One deals with the townships, the other deals with the boroughs. But we'll give an overview of the intent of it, if that's okay with the members. No objections? Okay. Then I'd like to call Martin up from the Local Government Commission to give an overview. Before we do, however, is there a motion to move both bills? Serrata, second. Smith Whitell. Good morning.
Chairman, members of the Local Government Committee. House Bill 2160 addresses townships and House Bill 2165 addresses boroughs. The bills in chief were brought to us by the Boroughs Association and the township supervisors, basically in order to clarify the arbitrary timelines that could slow down the process of filling the vacancies from narrowing from 30 days then to 15 days. The second part of House Bills 2160 and 2165 are basically in order to clarify the timing of the resignations itself. Currently, the resignation that creates the vacancy must be accepted by a majority of the governing body. If the resignation destroys the majority of the board or the council, then there's no mechanism in place when the resignation is accepted. Section 530B2 in the townships and Section 901E in the boroughs puts the mechanism in place that the resignation is effective on the date specified or 2 business days after the resignation. This is a bicameral, bipartisan draft in order to keep the municipal governments moving.
Thank you for your overview. Is there any questions or comments regarding both of the bills? If not, before we move on to passing those, we have to take up a motion to accept the amendments. Amendment A04994 to House Bill 2160 and Amendment A05071 to 2165. Is there such a motion? Serrata moves and Sappi seconds to both amendments. John, did you want to give an overview of what the amendments do?
These are identical amendments to each bill. They would prohibit the chair of the vacancy board from voting for themselves to fill a vacancy in any office. And these were amendments that were recommended by the commission staff and approved by the commission as additions to the bills.
Martin, did you want to elaborate any further, or?
Regarding the amendment to the bills, this was brought to the Local Government Commission's attention. There was a candidate for municipal office who was defeated in a November election. They were subsequently appointed as the chair of the vacancy board. And the concern was that as the chair, in a tie vote, this person could vote for himself for the vacancy, in filling the vacancy in that municipality. We believe this would be a violation of the Ethics Act for that person to vote for themselves. So this is simply a protective measure to provide clarification that the person cannot vote for themselves in the vacancy that occurs. And I go on record and say that all municipal associations are, in fact, in support of this amendment.
Thank you. Are there any questions regarding the amendments? Representative Miller.
Thank you. I'm just trying to understand what happens if the person recuses him or herself and it's a tie vote. So, I mean, aren't there provisions currently in, there are certain instances, and I can't think of them off the top of my head, where a situation where ordinarily someone should not vote, they can vote because of the complicated situation. Is there some scenario like that, and what would happen in this case?
Chris Ghazi?
Do you mind if I field this?
Go right ahead.
Sure. There is a provision in the Ethics Act that allows a conflicted vote of a member of a governing body to acknowledge their conflict and then vote after that under certain circumstances. There is an ethics, I think it's actually an attorney general opinion, that the vacancy chair does have this conflict as written. So this is clarifying what, at least in terms of advisory opinions, is current law. The problem with that provision in the Ethics Act in terms of declaring the conflict and then voting anyway is that the vacancy chair is not a member of a governing body. They are simply the chair of the vacancy board. Nothing, though, would prevent the vacancy chair from becoming the candidate if a majority still votes for the vacancy chair, meaning that among the remaining members of the vacancy board, there's an adequate number of votes to appoint that person to fill the office.
Okay, yeah, very good. Thank you.
Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll do a voice vote on both of the amendments to the two separate bills. All those in favor of the amendments, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No negative votes. Both amendments are adopted to their respective bills. We now come to the bills in chief. Is there any discussion or questions regarding them? Seeing none, we'll take a voice vote as well. All those in favor of the two bills, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No negative votes. Both bills will be reported as amendment to the full House. Thank you. Well, we're not done yet. Sorry. We have two other, well, we could. Okay, we will do Senate Bill 765 first by Senator Comita. Is there a motion to bring up the bill? Moved by Sappi, seconded by Jones. I saw you just sort of twitch. John, do you want to give an overview of Senate Bill 765?
Okay, Senate Bill 765, this is Senator Comita's bill. This is also a local government commission bill. It mirrors legislation that we have handled for the other codes. It would provide good faith protection to borough officials for decision-making when they have relied on the written or publicly disclosed opinion of the borough solicitors. So they would not be able to be surcharged for any financial setback to the municipality. It would also give them the ability to appoint a partnership, limited partnership, association, or professional corporation as borough manager. And presently under the code, this position, it's stipulated that it must be an individual that must hold that. And then it makes some two technical changes, would permit the Civil Service Commission to reorganize within 30 days of the first Monday in January of each even-numbered year, gives them some flexibility there. And then it would remove a requirement that a preliminary budget be prepared beginning at least 30 days prior to the adoption of the budget. Again, some more flexibility. And this, again, mirrors what has been done with other municipal codes.
Okay, thank you for that overview. Is there any discussion or questions? Seeing none, those in favor of Senate Bill 765 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Okay, the bill is unanimously reported out of committee. And that brings us to our last order of business. House Resolution 488. Is there a motion to bring up the resolution? Moved by Donahue, seconded by Serrata. John, do you want to give us an overview on the resolution?
This resolution is Representative Brennan's resolution, H.R. 488. It would designate June 30th, 2024 as Mayor Elizabeth Libby White Day in Pennsylvania. And Mrs. White was a former mayor of Doylestown Borough and was a distinguished member of the community and was a two-term mayor. And she was instrumental in several major developments that contributed to the growth of the borough, including the construction and location of the newest county courthouse, and early as Mayor Elizabeth Libby White Day in Pennsylvania, and reflect on what it means to truly serve our communities and strive to carry ourselves with the same humility as Mrs. White. I should note that Mrs. White recently passed away at the age of 87.
Thank you for that overview. Is there any questions or discussion on the part of the members? Seeing none, I'm sorry, Representative Donahue.
Monroe.
Monroe, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm down at the end of the table. So Representative Brennan just wanted me to relay his appreciation because he couldn't be here today. I would also note that June 30th is not only the date of her passing, it was also her birthday.
Oh, she died on her birthday.
She died on her birthday. I think I can speak for the members of Bucks County to say thank you, and again, just relaying his appreciation.
Yeah, from what Tim has told me, she was a very remarkable mayor, remarkable woman. So we're proud to be able to honor her in this way. Thank you, Representative Monroe. Any other comments or questions? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Representative Fink will be listed as a no vote. Okay, this resolution will be reported to the House and probably brought up very soon in terms of our voting calendar. That concludes our meeting for today. Thank you all for coming, and this meeting of the House Local Government Committee stands adjourned.